Call this meeting to order. Um, I'll call this public meeting of the Clark Community's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee to order. It is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. My name is Dave Zillavy and I am the committee chair. Meetings in the Clark Community's Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee are held in a hybrid meeting format. This means that committee members, guests, and members of the public have the option to attend in person or remotely. As a reminder to all members, in person, when you speak, we request that you unmute your microphone and state your name so that those online and the recording can track who is speaking. For members of the public attending remotely, other meeting participants cannot see or hear you unless you are acknowledged by the committee chair or staff and your audio is unmuted. Please raise your virtual hand to request to be unmuted. Well, it's a new year and we have several new members, which I think is very exciting. We are 13 now versus 9 in the past. And I thought we could just introduce ourselves, all the new members and all the members of the committee. We can just introduce ourselves. And why don't we just go around the room and state your name and your motivation for joining the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. And I'll go first. My name is Dave Zillavy. I live out near Busy Farms, near 119th, and between that and the old landfill. I joined or applied to join this committee 3 years ago because as a bicyclist, I just wanted to do whatever I could to help the county better its bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, because I've noticed a lot of lack of continuity in the system. So I just wanted to find out what I could do to help. So maybe Jay, you're on my left here. Jay, why don't you go next? Yes, push that button.
I am Jay Glassman, and I live in Ridgefield right now. And my motivation for coming to the committee, part of it was making just I been running for 35 years, and I walk. I've been walking since my mom said it was, I think, a month old. I was extremely young. I'd get up and fall down. I love the walk. But I had a family member I lost in Portland about 10 years ago in a pretty awful accident, my mother. And that changed my mind, my perspective completely, even though I've been doing it so long. So every time I go out running now, I see an issue. Every time I go out walking in the neighborhood, I see an issue. And I normally didn't see those. I actually was part of Project Zero for a while. So I got deeply involved. So I'm good. It's good to be here to maybe help find a way to make changes in a productive and meaningful way for everybody.
Thank you, Jay. John, why don't you go next?
Thanks, Dave. My name is John Vanderberg. I guess my motivation is just the same, wanting to try and help where we can. I think that we're doing a good job on trying to redefine the standards, and yeah, it would be nice to see more thought go into more bicycle infrastructure. So not much more than that. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Brian?
Hi, I'm Brian Watson. I've lived out in Salmon Creek since 1985. And growing up, through Vancouver and continuing to live in the area as well as across the metropolitan area out in Forest Grove and Hillsborough where I worked. I bicycle through Clark County quite often, north to south, about once a week, if not more. And I enjoy it quite a bit. I enjoy that Clark County and Vancouver's got its unique feel compared to Portland. And I just enjoy all the bicycle infrastructure. So I'm passionate about that because it's what I use. And also just mobility is something close to me with a chronic neurological condition. I just like moving through spaces. And as I transitioned into early retirement, this was an opportunity to instigate some changes that I see we have on our master plan. And I look forward to it.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Go ahead, Scott.
My name's Scott Sloan. I've lived in Salmon Creek for about 25 years, and I too am a lifelong cyclist and ride just about every day, if not every other day. And every time I go out, I see shortcomings in the system that I think with my professional background as a professional engineer and a cyclist, I can offer some assistance in getting the county kind of squared away for a lot more bicycles on the road.
Great. Thanks, Scott. That's all the members in the room. I'm looking online there. I see Patty. Why don't you go ahead?
Hi there, my name is Patty Sexton and I live in Philida. I've been on the committee just for a couple of months now, so I'm still new and learning all of the background of things that's happened. I am a walker and I really enjoy getting out and leaving my car behind and walking in a safe manner. And I want to encourage other people to walk where it's safe for them to walk. And part of that is to make it more safe along some of the roadways that we have that are I know when I walk along those roadways, I don't feel comfortable, so I stay away from them. And I just would like to see more pedestrian-friendly pathways and roads to allow people to get around they can. Thanks.
Thank you, Patty. Anthony, how about you?
Hey there, Anthony Tortorici. I do have a background in planning, but it's land use. I don't really work in transportation, but I'm definitely a cyclist and a pedestrian. I've been in Vancouver for about 3 years after moving up from Portland. And, you know, due to various factors, infrastructure included, I find that I bike a little bit less and I walk a little bit less. And yeah, it's an opportunity to be involved. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Anthony. Megan, how about you?
Hi, sorry I'm off camera. I am in my car and I usually live in East Vancouver, but during the legislative session I work in Olympia during the week, so I'm up here right now in the Capitol parking lot. Well, planning to listen to this meeting, but I joined this advisory committee a couple, I think, oh my God, 2 years ago. And also just because of personal safety concerns. And I think just ideally, I would like to live in a community where my friends and family feel safe going out on walks and riding their bikes and just generally being active. And I also had an experience with losing a close friend to a bicycle accident when I was in college. And so that motivated me as well. Happy to meet everyone.
Hey, thanks, Megan, for hiding out in your car and joining the meeting today. Are there any other new members or members online? If so, pipe up.
Hi.
Paul, go ahead.
Hi there. My name is Paul Sahatsky. I'm a frequent cyclist and walker, pedestrian. I live over in the Rose Village neighborhood near downtown Vancouver. I just joined the committee. I have attended a couple of the meetings in the past. So yeah, it's really nice to see improvements in bike facilities in the community and for pedestrians too. So I was excited to see that there was an opportunity to be involved with that at the county level. I really like what's been done at the Fourth Plane Corridor. I've lived over in Vancouver since 2013, and I commuted to Portland by bike. So I was like one of the crazies zipping across the bridge to the Max or to downtown for a few years there. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have a vested interest in that, but also just in the neighborhoods around here and making, yeah, just Vancouver more accessible for cyclists and pedestrians in general. It's a great way to do the active transportation, and yeah, it's good for public health and that kind of stuff too. So thanks for having me.
Hey, that's great. Thanks for joining, Paul. And Doug.
Hi, my name's Doug Young. I live in East Vancouver, close to the Costco, and I, in addition to walking, I ride, at least when the weather's decent, 75 to maybe 125 miles a week, just all over the county roads, mostly for recreation. And I also ride an electric scooter frequently when I can find a path to get to where I need to go on it without, being out on a main road.
Oh, that's great. And also, thanks for joining the committee. I think that's everybody. And again, really excited to have all the new members on board. And I'm excited for this coming year and the work that we're going to be doing. So moving on to the next section, public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who would like to make a comment? Seeing none, I think I'll put Harrison and Suzanne on the spot here, and we all introduced ourselves, and maybe you guys could introduce yourself and tell us what BPAC means to you.
So David, we
Yeah.
actually do have one member of the public online who does.
Okay, we do have one member of the public online. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Here, I hear you.
Okay, good. Sorry, just
Go ahead.
starting a stopwatch. Hi, my name is Jordan Heyman. I live in the North Orchards area of the county, a group in Battleground, and I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention the Northern Clark County Scenic Drive. It has been my experience that many, if not most people in the county don't remember that it exists. But in the early 2000s, the Clark County Commissioners set aside a route along roadways in the north of the county from Battleground to Amboy and Ridgefield as a scenic drive. And when I was in high school back in 2011 and 2012, my Boy Scout troop was preparing for a bike ride along the Oregon coast. And we would go along the scenic drive from Battleground north along Lucia Falls Road to practice. And as you might imagine, if you're familiar with the area, it's not the safest road to ride bikes along, especially for kids, youth. However, I believe that the Northern Clark County Scenic Drive is a severely underutilized recreation and mobility asset that has sort of languished in a bit of bureaucratic limbo, if you will. And I'm also a member of the Parks Advisory Board, and I intend to be a squeaky wheel about this issue on that board. Because I believe that the scenic drive can really be thought of as a scenic route. I used it with my bike, and it is, well, it's very scenic, but there are parts of it that are starting to develop in decidedly unscenic ways. And I think before this asset transforms into something less than scenic, I would at least try to raise some awareness that it exists among some of these committees and to the county council to see if there are others who feel like me that this is an asset that is being underutilized, that we should at least keep in mind and have some conversations about, maybe get it a spot on the county website outside of a PDF file. So yeah, it is too long for me to list out here. Too many roadways, it wouldn't make any sense, but you can find it if you search Northern Clark County Scenic Drive. There is a PDF file that'll show up in your Google search results. Oh, there we go. And yeah, it connects a lot of existing parks and assets and communities, and I think that we should see what can be done to sort of elevate it a little bit. Thank you.
Jordan, thanks for those comments. That's just great. And it dovetails nicely with coming discussions about priority routes. And I think your comments might help with our conversations. So thank you. Okay. And that was the only comment from the public? Okay. Well then, back to the spot, you two. If you could just introduce yourself to the new members and everybody and what BPAC means to you.
Thanks, Dave. I'm Susan Poisner, and I met all of the new members in the orientation. But, I was driven to take this position because I really believe that active multimodal networks are our future. And, back in the day, I can't remember who said that they used to bike from Vancouver to work in Portland, but I was one of the initial 4 people that used to train people how to commute and organize their routes to get from downtown Vancouver to various employment locations in Portland. And I had so much fun with that. We would do it every Saturday for an entire summer. I think it was the summer of 2004. Yeah, and so, we used to do mocktail events to encourage people to bike, and we'd give you a mocktail when you were coming home, or we'd give you donuts and coffee on the way across the bridge into work. It just was a really exciting time. So I would really like to see more utilization. So truth be told, I live in Portland. I moved over because I started working for the city of Portland, and I like to walk to work. So this is the first time I've worked somewhere that I don't walk to work. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. But yeah, so I'm super excited to be involved in identifying ways that we can work with the community to improve our multimodal infrastructure. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
And hi, everyone, especially the new members. If I haven't had a chance to introduce myself yet, my name is Harrison Houston. I'm a planner with our community planning department here at the county. I've been with the county for about 2.5 years. And yeah, I think very shortly after joining the county, I was brought on board to be one of the staff coordinators for this group. And I was very excited right off the bat. Previously, I had lived in the city of Spokane for a number of years, and I was on their bicycle advisory board for a little bit. So I'm coming at it from someone who's been on your side of the table. And my hope is kind of through my work with helping facilitate this group to facilitate an experience where your input is, being utilized and, that you feel like your time is being is worthwhile on the committee. Because I think while we, can look at all of our work on day to day, it's really those who are using our transportation system who are the, the real experts, on the ground experts. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And for a while, my wife and I got away with having just one car. And so I primarily walked, biked, or used the bus to get around. So I'm very familiar. But as of recent years, mostly with having a new kid, we've had to kind of shift a little bit more. So I've unfortunately become a little bit more dependent on using my car, but it's always there as something that I would like to do more of. So that's a little bit about myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I didn't know you lived in Spokane and was on their bicycle advisory committee. That's great. Very cool. Well, thank you. Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, approval of meeting minutes from December 16th of last year. And has everyone had a chance to look it through? Are there any changes, concerns anyone has? Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, everybody who agrees, say aye.
I just want to make one comment that people who are not active members of the organization in December, when the meeting happened, can't vote on the
Okay.
meeting minutes.
Okay. Well, those who were active at the December 16th, 2025 meeting, if you approve of these minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So I just want to be clear, I have Scott, John, David as ayes. We might not have and Megan.
Megan
Also aye.
and
Okay, great.
Was
Sorry.
Patty?
Patty was not
not
there.
a member.
Patty needs to
Okay.
abstain. Yep.
Okay. Is that a quorum? Okay. Whew, squeaked that one by. Okay. Next on the agenda, one of my favorite parts are the staff updates from our partner agencies. And Dylan, why don't you go first?
Happy to. Good evening. Dylan, for the record, Dylan Bass. What was my title again? Sorry. Principal Transportation Planner with WashDOT Southwest Region. Also the Complete Streets lead for the region. Got a couple projects to provide updates on. A lot of ongoing work. We'll start with our I-5 179th Street interchange. Recently, the project team completed a geometric peer review of that project. If you're not aware of it, it's a complete rebuild of the interchange. They're actually raising the grade of I-5. They're replacing the existing signals at the ramp terminals with roundabouts. Be adding straight east paths on the north and south side of 179th Street between the roundabouts to match the county's corridor plan for 179th Street. That geometric review is looking at primarily how the roundabouts are set up. So making sure that the geometry is correct for making sure that speeds are slow as you're coming, off of the off ramp, into the roundabout. Also looking at things like the crossings and whatnot. There were no changes to the crossings, east-west. There was a crossing that was added on the west leg of the northbound ramp terminal that will provide a north-south crossing. Originally, there was a proposal to have that crossing at what would be ultimately 12th Street once that gets built. The thinking with that, it was a little too out of direction for folks. And so per some discussions we had internally and as a part of that peer review, that adjustment was made. That project will continue on in design, and hopefully have some more details for y'all soon on that. Any questions on that project specifically before I move on to the next?
This is Scott Sloan. Is there any way we can see some of these preliminary plans as at this point? Or do you like to keep them a little closer?
Happy to set aside some time to review those plans. I don't have them right in front of me. We did come to the BPAC a few months back, just kind of showing the preliminary design. If there's some interest in talking through that a little bit more, I'm happy to bring some plans along next time, just so you have a little bit better idea of what we're looking at.
Thank you.
You bet.
That'd be great.
And Scott, that should be in the September meeting materials if you wanted to look at that presentation.
Dylan, is there an online location where someone could go and look at drawings or the plan?
There should be a project webpage. I'm not sure if the plans are on there, but I can look into that.
Copy that. Thanks.
Yeah. The other project I'd like to talk about is the SR 500 Complete Streets pre-design. This is from 4th Plain to 76th Street. Still in the same kind of situation we were in last month. We are in the position of needing to defer complete street improvements to a future project due to cost. We're currently looking at how to provide some near-term improvements for folks that are using the corridor. And so some of those features might look like adding pedestrian refuges where we can, looking at potentially leading pedestrian interval at intersections where pedestrian volumes would justify using that. So like the 71st Street intersection would be a prime example where that apartment complex is going in, potentially for that improvement there. Also looking at some of the other unsignalized intersections or driveways, trying to see if we can reduce the distance that people are crossing there. Looking at some near-term improvements while also looking at kind of a long-term vision for the corridor, trying to get wider sidewalks or shared use path out there for folks. If you've been out there today, or if you go out there today, it's fairly narrow sidewalks. It's got 40-mile-per-hour traffic running by there, so it's not really comfortable for people who are biking. People are typically biking on the sidewalk. And even walking too, it's, you get a semi truck going by at 40, it feels a little tight. So, but looking to see what we can do in the near term while we try to identify the need and get some more money for that project. Excuse me.
Does that project have a start date?
Not yet. So currently we're funded for pre-design. Need to take a look at our 6-year plan to see where it's at in terms of delivery. It's a high priority for the region from a pavement preservation standpoint. So hopefully in the near future, but not entirely sure on the timeline for that one at this moment.
You know, and I know you don't need me to say it, but that is with all those apartments going in over there and you have the Lowe's on one side and the Freddy's on the other. And that is such a high use corridor, that if there are pedestrian and bicycle facilities there, they would just get heavily used, I would imagine. There's so much going on there. I appreciate the difficulty of it.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely trying to take a future forward look at the corridor.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions for me while I'm here? Happy to. I'll pass the mic back to the chair. Oh.
Well, just one quick thing. This is John Vanderberg. I was always kind of curious. You have that, getting back to the really nice overpass that we have over 500 by Stapleton and 54th. There's that island in the middle of 54th that doesn't have any pylons on it or any identification or anything like that. I have noticed a lot of hubcaps kind of in the area, and it's getting kind of black from tires hitting it and stuff, but you'd think that you'd be able to make that more visible and things for cars and for everybody else that it's out there. I was just kind of wondering why that never had anything like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, John. I'm not entirely sure what you know, what they were thinking there, if they had some other plans for that. I know it's something that my boss actually noted. He had rode around there recently. I just talked with him about that, in addition to another concern you had raised recently in terms of the approaches on either side. You know, not having some signage or some delineation there. So I think there's some discussions to be had, and I think there's still some punch list items too. So you know, still some things to wrap up, but good points. Appreciate you bringing that up.
Amy, how about you?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to meet the new members and see familiar faces as well. So I'm Amy Koski with Clark County Public Health, and I'm the Built Environment Coordinator. I work closely with Susan and Harrison and many of you at the table. So thought that I would share just a couple of quick announcements. One, the county has two different ADA transition plans being developed or in the process of being developed. One for our Parks and Nature team at the county, who oversees all of our parks, and then one for transportation. And so kind of looking at accessibility for parks and then transportation related. And there are surveys online for both of those ADA transition plans. So if you are interested or know people who might want to share different physical barriers that are impacting people from being able to get around, those would be two great places to share those concerns. I will get those links. I know Susan and Harrison know where these are, but I'll just type this up so that they can easily put it into the minutes. And I think both of those are open through the end of February, or into March even. So the other one is a save the date. So I hadn't, before I started doing this job, I wasn't in active transportation as immediately before I started with the county 3 years ago, but I had not heard of MAD in a long time, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, but they are still around and they still are doing their organizing work and education work and awareness work. And so they're hosting their second annual Move Like MAD event, and it will be on May 30th at Frenchman's Bar Regional Park. So more details to come. I'll put some information for the minutes as well. But if you are interested in participating, on May 30th. It's a really special event, but also a great way to create awareness about continuing to promote safe roads so that we can walk and bike and use transit safely. So I think those were my two main. Well, I'll just mention this. It probably won't sound as directly related to BPAC's work, but I'll highlight it as a way that public health is involved in all this body of work. And so we have a number of culturally specific community-based organizations who are here in the county. They do amazing work and really help. I know in the work that I've been doing, they really help us get word out to community members who need to hear about different projects and give input on things like the ADA transition plan and our bike priorities and our PED priorities. So we just had an event at Public Health to host those culturally specific community-based organizations and kind of recognize them for their work. But I just thought I would highlight that there are so many of them. We had 10 at that event, but there's probably even more that are here just in Clark County. And that's pretty phenomenal that we've got that kind of community here. So yeah, thanks and good to see everybody tonight. Let me know if you have questions.
Thank you, Amy. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on. Brett, what's going on in the city of Vancouver?
Yeah, hello everyone. Nice to meet all the new members. Brett Setterfield, Transportation Planner with the City of Vancouver. I got a couple updates for the group, and I'm actually going to share my screen real quick because I have a couple of websites. So, first, we are currently in the outreach phase for our corridor projects. The three corridors that we're working on are Northeast 72nd, Northeast 87th, 86th, and 97th, 98th Avenues. So this map kind of shows there are three parallel corridors. And what we're doing is, in the past, we've called these complete streets projects, but we kind of moved to corridor design projects. We're just looking to improve road conditions for all road users. So adding potential protected bike lanes, mid-block crossings, walking paths, that kind of thing. And what we have is this survey that is currently live through the end of February. And when you click on that link, it takes you to our survey where you can kind of drop a pin and explain like, oh, there's missing sidewalks here, or bike lane gets very skinny, or anything that you experience on that. And so we're gathering that feedback right now. This project will go through to fall, and then we will have some design concepts that move forward, and paving is scheduled for 2027. And so that's why we're working on these projects right now. So that's that one. And then the other thing that is going on right now is our neighborhood traffic calming program. This is the City of Vancouver's neighborhood traffic calming program. The county actually just launched one as well, and I believe they call it a neighborhood traffic. It's not calming, but essentially the same thing. So they're doing that. So we are taking applications from people for this program. And when you click on that link, gives you all the info, and then you kind of just draw on here where the issue is. And the goal of this program is to essentially create safer roads for all road users. Last year's program, we installed speed tables on 3 different corridors. The year before, we added speed cushions on one, as well as a pedestrian refuge island, radar feedback signs. So those are the kind of things. We just want community input on this. This program has been super successful in the past. It's gaining some traction, and yeah. So with that, I will stop sharing that. And if there's any questions on either of those, don't be afraid to speak it.
Scott, have you got a question?
I have a, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask what the link is to those corridor projects.
Yes, I will send Harrison the link to both of these websites right now so he can send it to the group.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, no problem.
My question was, since the county has a similar project, the neighborhood traffic management
That's what, yeah.
program, is there going to be any coordination between the city program and the county program so that people that don't know where they actually live don't get confused
Yes,
and go
so
to the wrong place?
yes, that does still happen, and it's totally understandable because these are just imaginary lines nobody understands. So when we get a request that is in the county, we provide the county's information for their website and for their program and let people know that they are in that. And on our website, we actually filter out, you can't actually request a project on a road facility that is not within the city. And when you try, we actually have a pop-up that says, oh, you're in the county, here's information for the county. So we kind of have this, and we have been working with the county recently as they got this program going. So I think collaboration is going to be an ongoing thing.
Okay, that sounds great. And especially if when you refuse them entry into your survey to directly take them to the county's webpage or the NTMP, because that's up and running now. Yeah.
Yes, I believe we have a link in ours that goes to that. It at least goes to the website that the county's website that connects to that. But yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. And I think last but not least, Judith with RTC.
Good evening. So my name is Judith Ferraz-Keniston. I'm a principal planner with the Southwest Washington Regional Transportation Council. We are a regional transportation planning agency here in the Clark County region. So I have three updates for you tonight. The first one is about the local road safety updates, plan updates. So we're working with local agencies, Battleground, Camas, La Center, Richfield, Vancouver, and Washougal to update their local road safety plans, and also preparing grant applications for the 2026 WashDOT City Safety Program call for projects. So these grant applications are due on March 6th, which is around the corner, right? It will provide funding for projects that reduce fatal and serious injury crashes on city streets and city managed state highways using what they're calling engineer improvements and countermeasures. So mainly these grant applications include the submission, or they require the submission of these local road safety plans. And that's why we are working to update the plans and then submit the grants. And then next year, you might be wondering, what about the county? So next year, we will work with the county to update their safety plan and also prepare a grant application for the WashDOT County Safety Program grant. So WashDOT separates this 1 year for the city, the next year is for the county. So this year is the city's turn. So that's what we're working on, these plans and grant applications. And once, projects have been identified, I can come back and let you know what those projects are, just for your information. The second update I have is on the Regional Active Transportation Plan. So we just started the process. Just to tell you a little bit about the outreach and engagement activities, RTC's approach is to gather input at key points in the planning process. So the purpose of that is to ensure that the final plan has a shared regional vision. So engagement activities will focus on coordination with agency stakeholders, advisory groups, and also community groups. If the schedule permits, I think I'm on the queue maybe to present at a high level an overview and also timeline. At the February BPAC meeting. And then I'm hoping that I can return in the spring to share with you about our regional active transportation network and then some prioritized projects. So in addition, I wanted to mention that to facilitate the conversation among all staff in Clark County, which is cities, the county, the Washington State Department of Transportation, CTRAN, and other agencies and organizations, we created the Active Transportation Subcommittee. So members of the subcommittee are pretty much rolling their sleeves to provide their subject matter expertise to matters pertaining to the active transportation plan, but also they are discussing other related topics such as safety, accessibility, and items like that. The subcommittee held their first meeting January 12th, and the plan is to meet monthly. And the last report I have is we just held a walk and roll event. And your chair, David, was present. So RTC partnered with CTRAN and also the Non-Drivers Alliance in the planning and implementation of this half-a-day event. And we did some mapping and training in that day, and mainly the event focused on access for community members. So we have community members from, folks that were on power wheelchairs, also folks that were low vision and also blind. We had about 12 students from the school for the blind. And it was very eye-opening to learn the difficulties that some of these community members face. I think that the event was a great success, and we had several members that are here at the table that participated. I don't know if anybody has any questions about any of these updates, or David or Amy would like to share their experiences at this great event.
Well, I agree. I thought it was just fascinating. It was a bunch of planners as well who were involved. And as we walked through the Rosemere neighborhood, we saw all of these gaps in the sidewalk system. And it just really makes you realize how much work there is to do to create better continuity in the pedestrian experience right in the downtown area. So that was just fascinating. And to see all these partners there, it was a good event, very interesting. And thanks for including BPAC.
I'm happy to chime in. It really was a great event, and thanks, Judith, for coordinating to make that happen here in the county. If you can just imagine some of the disconnections that Dave just spoke about, where a sidewalk just ends, or there are just no sidewalks at all, or it's really unclear where you should be walking. Imagine those kinds of barriers and challenges, and then you don't have your sight impaired, or you have a mobility device that you're using to get around. And so we had members of the community who were brought together with or by the Non-Drivers Alliance, and some of them were on the tour with us. And it just it's already hard enough to get around when you can see and you can walk, but if it's a child, if it's someone with any kind of a disability, it just the impacts are even more compounded. And so I know that we all know that here, but experiencing it and then being able to identify it in this app to have a better way of collecting this data could really help our efforts, help supplement some of the sidewalk information that we already have or don't have for the county.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Judith. And we look forward to that, your presentation in February, if that works out, for the regional active transportation plan, and your thoughts on that, or how that's progressing.
You bet.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on. Now there's Clark County. Do you have some to add? Okay, go ahead. Thanks, Suzanne.
Yeah, sure. Susan Poisner, and I just want to kind of touch base at a high level on a number of different things that we are currently working on with Clark County in specifically community planning transportation. And so we have the comp plan update. You're going to hear that over and over. It's going to be a big part of what we work on as a group. And we're pretty excited. We did experience a setback. So if you have been on the comp plan update website and you've looked at the schedule and you were anticipating that schedule, just be aware the schedule is getting ready to move further out. So I don't have any further information on what that means at this point in time. This is all still evolving, but we do have our next hearing with the Planning Commission on Thursday evening, the 29th. Feel free to tune in if you are interested in the conversation. And they are working through deliberation towards recommendation that they will present to County Council on a preferred alternative for the growth outlined in the comp plan. And we need that information in order for us, Harrison and I and our group, to take on the next step of our responsibilities. Next, I just want to give an update. One of our coworkers, Mike, he is heading up the ADA transportation plan Amy alluded to earlier. And as Amy said, the survey is online. It's available until February 28th for the transportation ADA survey work. And he will use that information as well as he begins compiling the transition plan. And we will incorporate that in the comp plan efforts moving forward. So he's done quite a bit in trying to identify through an inventory process the condition of the existing infrastructure in the Vancouver unincorporated urban growth area specifically. And so that information is being pulled together and will help give us a roadmap moving forward on how we can make improvements for members of our community with disabilities. And then finally, the neighborhood traffic management program did go live. I believe it was January 15th. Their website announced that they started accepting applications. I believe the applications are going to be accepted until March 1st, and then they will move into the next step. In addition, Public Works is working to hire the 2 new staff members who ultimately will be responsible for administering that program. And it will be 2 engineers of different levels, and they will be responsible for the full annual implementation undertaken each year. So those are kind of the high level updates that I wanted to offer. Did you have anything further about those?
I have a question just about the nomenclature of the ADA transition plan. And the word transition in there, do you mean sort of Americans with disabilities or people with disabilities, and it's a transition from one place to another where they're going? Or what does the transition part refer to?
I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it refers to us identifying the improvements that need to happen and coming up with a plan for implementing them.
Okay, okay. Yep, that makes sense. Thanks.
Sure. And that's all I had.
Okay.
Susan, I have a question. With the NTMP taking applications until March 1st, that, I guess that's like 4 weeks, almost 4 weeks away. It's a pretty short time to get the word out to people to put in their requests or applications. Can you say what kind of outreach is being done to let people know about that particular application process?
That's a great question, Patty. I can tell you more about the outreach that happened leading up to the kickoff of the program, because that's what I was involved in. The program is now being administered by Public Works, so I'm not sure of what outreach beyond the website going live and them creating an email address to address any questions folks might have. Do you have any further clarification on outreach?
I guess it's not these two yet to be hired people that will be doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the timing is for the actual employment to begin for the two new people. So currently they are using existing Public Works staff to kick the program off.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess I'm looking at that, 4 to 5 week window, that if I guess it's not clear to me how people, while all of this, hiring and, temporary filling in sort of stuff is going on, how the residents of unincorporated Clark County will know about and the new program and what to do with the new program and get their questions answered.
Yeah,
Given
thank
the
you.
program hasn't been kicked off yet.
Yeah, I will reach out on your behalf to Dave, who I think you've already communicated with a couple of times. He's really going to be the person that can give you further clarification on that. But I'm happy to reach out and connect your question to Dave so that he can respond and let you know further what steps are being taken at this time.
Okay, that would be great, because I spoke or corresponded with him in the capacity of sort of like a website issue rather
Yes.
than the overall project issue. So I was thinking I didn't want to bother him with something that he might not be responsible for.
Yeah, he's wearing many hats right now. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Patty. Okay, moving on. In the agenda, old business, and we've got the 2026 work plan discussion. I had some notes on that, but I wonder if everybody received and had a chance to look at the transportation staff recommendations for the 2026 work plan. It was included in the materials that were mailed out. And we have it here this evening. And Harrison and Susan, is it Susan or Suzanne? Which do you prefer? Okay, Susan, yes. There's a Z in there that throws me off. So we briefly spoke before the meeting, and you guys have some ideas about the work plan for this year. Do you want to go first and talk about that? Or do you want me to go through my notes here and share some of my thoughts?
Sure. So I can go ahead and kind of go over this list really quickly with the committee. So I think when we started having discussions about items to include in the work plan for 2026 back in December with David and John as the chair and vice chair, we reached out to some various internal groups in the county just to get an idea of kind of what could be some internal need for the county to maybe work on over the next year. And so we actually got a pretty good response back from our Public Works Department, the Transportation Division, and then also our Community Development Department in their Development Engineering team, who's kind of responsible for implementing our Title 40 development code. So this is just kind of a very high level kind of outline of some of the feedback that we received. And really the first kind of section on here is really coming from our Susan and I's transportation planning team in community planning. And so we are going to have quite a bit of planning related projects or tasks over the next 6 months related to the comprehensive plan. And there are kind of various decision points or kind of, points in the process that we would really appreciate BPAC to have an active role in reviewing and providing feedback to kind of guide us in our work as well. So this is kind of providing a list of that. So kind of providing feedback on our updated active transportation component as part of the transportation element. And also, for some of the newer folks, when we talk about our transportation element as part of the comprehensive plan, we call it an element because that's how the state law calls it, but it just refers to our transportation chapter in our comprehensive plan. So so within that chapter or that element, there's a required active transportation component. And as kind of the county's, official advisory body on active transportation, we want to make sure that, we're getting that feedback from you all. And then, some of these decisions with that component kind of feed into other long range planning documents like our arterial atlas, which really plans out our road system long term in the county. And it kind of maps out what infrastructure improvements we kind of expect on each road. So we want to make sure that for that document, it's consistent with the active transportation component. And then we're going to be looking at also developing our project list for the comprehensive plan and kind of looking at ways to prioritize that project list as well. So we want kind of feedback on the list itself, but also the method that we would use to help prioritize that list and move it forward. So those are kind of the things that we have to complete in the next, that we expect in the next 6 months to complete. And I know we kind of talked with David a little bit before this meeting about, possibly asking him to kind of set up a subcommittee where we could hash out a little more detail with kind of a smaller group of folks kind of between regular meetings. And that way we have kind of less to digest in these meetings that we have, every fourth Tuesday of the month. So that's kind of what we're bringing to the table. There was just general consensus that they want the committee to continue to provide input on capital improvement projects. So we're going to be looking at Highway 99 again tonight. So that's an example, just continuing to do that. This traffic calming and safety studies, we have a couple of corridor studies I think we have in mind that we would like to take on. Realistically, I don't know what we'll be like with everything else if we'll get to this in 2026, but with the neighborhood traffic management program, I see that as a possible opportunity for BPAC to provide comment, possibly on some of the traffic calming measures that maybe like the engineering team is going to be proposing for the projects. And then in the policy and development code, I know our transportation division manager really would like BPAC to look at our complete street policies. So we do have existing policies, and we do have them. They are codified in our development code. But if we're very frank, they need a lot of work. It's kind of squishy, and I think there's a lot of outs that it provides. So kind of just tidying it up, revising it, providing a recommendation to the county of how can we improve our policy and code section for that. And I've provided the citation of the code, and for newer members I can send out a link to our code as well, so you can look at it and read it. And then these are other just kind of code sections related to very specific implementation aspects of our development code. One that's related to kind of access ways that subdivisions would kind of provide between connecting streets. So like paths, one related to angled parking and maybe like conflict zones with bike lanes and sidewalks. And then another one kind of related to looking at our roadway cross-section standards. We do have what we call a flex zone in our roadway standards, which basically means, we have our core road where that kind of standard, can't be changed, but the flex zone, there's some flexibility in, what could be provided in there. And unfortunately, the bike lane and the sidewalk are in the flex zone. So there's the ability to kind of
squeeze
make
them out.
modifications, even though we do have like the standards itself. So those are kind of part of the code that I think, they've provided feedback that they would like us to look at. And then for our programming team, just kind of looking at maybe this could be a next step after our comprehensive plan where, the committee has helped us with identifying the project list, and it's kind of looking at the project list, looking at our grant opportunities, and maybe creating a roadmap of, what you would recommend is, which projects would be the best for different competitive projects. And so I think we're still working through that, but I think more input on what projects should move forward for grant applications, basically. And then I think internally, we have been getting a lot of questions, comments about e-bikes. They're a great emerging technology for, providing accessible transportation for folks. But it's, I think it's starting to get ahead of, what we know, and, people are concerned about the speed of e-bikes on, like, say, shared use paths, their conflict with other users. So I think maybe just bringing it up generally, this one was not as well fleshed out, but I think that could be a interesting or potential subject to look at moving forward. So that's just a high level of the feedback we got internally. So
yeah, well, so the one action immediately on the part of BPAC would be to create a subcommittee. What do we call it? Comprehensive Plan Subcommittee? Comp Plan Subcommittee that would evaluate the proposals that transportation staff is making and then make a recommendation. The subcommittee would make the recommendation to the committee at large during this meeting in order to streamline discussion and be efficient in our business, because we can't open up the discussions, or it's difficult to open up the discussions during these meetings because we have so much going on. So I would like to propose that we create a comprehensive plan update subcommittee. And I know that I, for one, would like to be on it. Is there anyone else out there who is interested in being on that committee? Scott? Brian? And Patty? Okay. Well, I think that's great. I think that's a excellent group to, and also Harrison and Suzanne said that this group would meet more frequently than is probably usual, like maybe once a week for a while, in order to really expedite some of these comp plan issues, and then get the recommendation from BPAC and just start moving along comp plan updates that transportation staff is seeking. So be prepared for that. Okay. Anything else? Then all these other items on your recommendations for the 2026 work plan would be items that would probably be presented during this meeting. Is that safe to say? Or might be presented during this meeting? Or maybe we create another subcommittee at some point when these issues come to light? Okay. So as now, as we can all see, these meetings get pretty packed. It's almost 7:15 right now. We're an hour and 15 minutes into it. We have 45 minutes left. And I've given the attendees here a list for 2026 work plan. And I'm proposing that, other than what the staff provides to us, that this committee kind of engages in homework. That really, and what I realized it is that it's the onboarding material that Susan and Harrison have provided to us, and that we go through the onboarding material together. I see a real value in us building a foundation. We have so many new members. They're going to be here for 4 years. We build this foundation of knowledge of what is going on in the active transportation ecosystem in Clark County. So there is the 2010 bicycle and pedestrian master plan. I think we should all read that at the same time. Read it together. Understand it together. This is the founding document of this group. I think we should all read it and then make time during this meeting to discuss what we've read up to that point. And just so you know, in our upcoming February presentation to Clark County Council, we're going to ask for funding to update the 2010 Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. Given the current budget situation, I'm not expecting this funding to be available. And if that's the case, I hope this committee will have the opportunity to significantly contribute in updating the 2010 master plan. I have an outline of the scope of work that we would undertake. which we'll coordinate with Harrison and Suzanne and share this scope in a timely manner. This could become quite a bit of work during the 2026 year, just that alone. But I think that we should coordinate educating ourselves about the 2010 master plan. I think it'll be very helpful and help us to be more effective over time. You know, another subject, think of this as like a BPAC book group where we're all reading the same material at the same time, and we get to discuss it together a little bit during these meetings. Another subject is Title 40. What is it? How does it relate to active transportation in Clark County? I think we should become familiar with it. Even more in chatting with some members, you know, what is the org chart of transportation planning in Clark County? We have that in the onboarding packet. I think we should look at transportation planning webpage, go through it together, but on our own, not during this meeting. And so it would be assignments or suggestions of what we can do with our time to educate ourselves until the next meeting. And, you know, perhaps our understanding can come from meaningful tasks in the concept that small examples will lead us to understanding the big picture. Just two examples of this is John Scott and I were talking, and there are minor gaps in the bicycle and pedestrian system all around. There are just gaps. Well, what if who do we ask to fix the gaps? What if we identified a few gaps, asked them to be fixed, and just tracked how that process went? We would learn about the county and how things work. There was another, in 2011, Clark County Public Health Department evaluated our 2010 bicycle and pedestrian master plan. The analysis noted that we should have numeric objectives that define a desirable level of service, which we've been working on last year with our multimodal level of stress metrics. It also recommends the county should have an agency responsible for active transportation infrastructure, which I don't think there is a responsible agency right now. I think it's just it's a concept. It also said the county should be collecting benchmarks and performance measures to assess progress. And this is the one that struck me really, is are we not keeping track of how much bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure is going in? Shouldn't we be able to report every year that we've added X number of lineal feet of sidewalk, X number of ADA ramps, X number of lineal feet of bike lane, and so forth? So if we follow that thread, where would it lead us? Where's the data? Why don't we have it? How can we get it? So this, I think, would be the long-range subcommittee. Many things just got stated there that are a lot of work. And I think with the long-range subcommittee, that would be the committee that talks about what it is we want to do next, what it is we want to do for our homework, and would kind of curate that aspect of this group. And I wonder what you guys think about that. Do you think that would be a good idea to do that sort of a thing? It adds more work to us. We'll be trying to read things outside of this group. Are you guys down with that?
David, I think that that's a very good idea to build some really depth of knowledge in the subgroup so that we can really discuss things at a very detailed and informed level, and then take it to the larger committee and be able to provide that information and get more input faster.
Well, that's great. Is there anyone who would like to be on that committee?
I would, Dave.
Okay, Scott will.
My feeling is I agree with all of this, that one meeting a month isn't going to get a lot of progress made. We've got, we're not here to meet once a month and make a whole lot of progress. We've got to do this more frequently and have an agenda and start getting things done.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
David, I actually thought you were talking about those actions for the comprehensive plan update subcommittee. So is this yet another group that you're talking about?
Yes, this is really the homework element is for the whole group. It's for everybody. It's for the whole committee. So that, for example, with the 2010 bicycle and pedestrian master plan, we all have read it kind of together. And so we all are up to speed. It's really the onboarding materials that were provided to new members recently, and just the whole group going through it together.
I see. I understand now. So you're asking, are all 13 of us to do the homework and be able to have the discussions so that during our regular monthly meetings, we're sort of all on the same page and don't have to be sort of asking questions that take up a lot of time.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think the other part is that we educate ourselves about the active transportation ecosystem in Clark County, which is a complicated beast with many moving parts. And just one by one, we educate ourselves about how it all works and what the specifics are, and just take it a digestible bite at a time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And sure, I'm up to doing homework reading and meeting separately to discuss with other committee members the finding out whether I'm understanding all of the details correctly, because that's part of what I feel sometimes I'm lost. That I get, things that sound similar mixed up, or things that have been already put into place I'm not aware of. So yes, putting some depth of knowledge in for myself as well as for all the other committee members is a very good idea.
Yeah, great. Great. Then I'd like to propose, we already have a long range subcommittee. And I'd like to propose that we begin to create a group schedule to read some of the background materials and begin to collectively educate ourselves to better understand the subject matter we're in right now. So we've got for that committee, myself, Scott, would anyone else, and Brian, did you say you're interested in that? Is anyone else interested in being on that committee?
If I could for a second, David, interject, do we really need, if we're asking all 13 members to be aware, I guess I'm kind of with Patty, what is this subcommittee going to do that's different as opposed to maybe having an email sent out once in a while, hey, this is what we want to talk about at the next meeting. And so study this aspect and be more in depth with that. And do we need another subcommittee for that? Because then they're going to be doing things as a smaller group And how do the other 13 of us catch up with that? And so if we're trying to do this as a homework thing, maybe there's a different way to approach it rather than a subcommittee, but that's just my thought.
No, I can see the nuance there. I think this subcommittee is poised to direct what it is we're going to be doing for our homework. Okay, here's a digestible chunk of the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. Let's read up until, this page in the plan for next meeting. Should it become fact that we as a group don't get, or that there is no funding available to update some chapters of the master plan, then this committee could help to organize the updating of the plan in-house. You see what I mean? It's like we pick it apart before we get everybody else involved in it. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Maybe not.
It seems like two parallel concepts, kind of, that, again, if we're asking all 13 members to be aware and abreast of what's going on, yeah, I guess maybe it would be a good idea to have a committee telling us what our homework assignment is for this month to be, trying to digest and that type of thing.
And I think that's exactly what it is. It is a group of people who are saying, hey, let's take a deeper look at this. And here's what everybody should take a look at. Prioritizing, curating the reading.
Right. I think, though, that what Harrison and Susan are going to get into as far as these other links that they sent out this afternoon, that is kind of what my thought was, that there's a nice list of all these projects, but do we have a timeline when we're actually going to get to those, or how do we prioritize those? And it almost needs to be made into a smaller package to make it more realistic to accomplish that, because otherwise it's the old concept of how do you eat an elephant, and it's one bite at a time. And so when you have page after page after page of all the different opportunities, we have them identified. It's just a question of, but I think that that's kind of where we're going with that just as well. And so would that be part of what this subcommittee is? Or are those two different things?
Well, I think the subcommittee could do both. I did not see these were sent out just today. So I have not had a chance to look at these two documents here.
So if I could maybe just jump in really quick
Yeah.
to help. I think I'm tracking the conversation. So the two staff reports that I sent out later today, very rough drafts of some examples of what we would like the comprehensive plan subcommittee to work on over the next couple of months. So I did provide them as kind of, examples of what that committee is going to be kind of nitpicking and going through to get to that kind of a formal recommendation that we would bring back to a larger group. So that's one thing. And project prioritization will be part of the comprehensive stuff that we talk about later this year and in kind of the first 6 months. So sorry, I just wanted to clarify that point. And then, yeah, just I'm also hearing the need to kind of create a foundation for folks and
Mhm.
kind of one committee getting together and providing suggestions for the group to kind of look into more, maybe creating that schedule for the most part of that. Is that correct?
Yes, that is it. It's creating the schedule of suggested homework so that we can gain the foundational understanding, going through the onboarding materials together, providing some space to discuss what we're looking at. But the long range committee also is available when opportunities arise to update the bicycle and pedestrian master plan, certain chapters. If that should become an eventuality, that long-range plan can take a few of the gaps in the system and try to run it through to get them fixed. See what happens. I think you're thinking, what else is the job of the long-range plan? Right?
I'm wondering if we're not having overlapping committees. But after a while, it all begins to seem like they're doing very similar things.
I don't see them as doing the same thing. I see the comprehensive plan update committee being basically fed by county staff. The long range committee is trying to build some long range knowledge of the ecosystem of active transportation in Clark County. While we have the time to do that,
And then what does the new committee do that we're
The-
working on establishing?
the new committee
No, not
is
the
yes,
plan
there's the
committee.
comprehensive plan committee.
Right.
There's the long range committee, which exists,
Right, and then what's the third one?
outreach, and that exists also.
Okay,
So
but I
there's-
thought you were working on establishing a new subcommittee
No,
that didn't have a name.
no, I'm
Okay,
not.
that's what I was wondering.
Okay,
That's
I'm
where
not
my
doing that.
Confusion was.
Okay, it's
I
all,
thought
it's
that you were establishing an extra committee.
my bad.
My-
it's,
My misunderstanding.
so it's the long range committee and outreach are the two that exist right now.
Right,
We're on the long range committee.
right.
And I'm wondering if anyone else would like to join the long range committee. Brian,
Yeah, we have to be careful not to get too many people on a subcommittee.
oh, do we have a hand up here?
Glenn Young?
Doug, are you trying to say something?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just signing up.
You'd like to join that committee, the long range?
Yes, the long
Oh,
range
that's
committee.
great. Okay, thank you. Okay. The final comments or thoughts on the 2026 work plan is outreach. And that's a committee that a subcommittee that already exists. And so in 2026, what does outreach mean? I hear a lot of ideas that we should outreach to the public regarding safety issues. In Appendix H of the 2010 Master Plan titled BPAC Work Plan, Item 10 is called Education Actions. The first proposal is to provide education for walking and bicycling, such as workshops on bike commuting and pedestrian safety. I think because there are several organizations already doing this work in the county, I propose we move on to the next two items, which are one, publicize the availability of bicycling and pedestrian opportunities and other bicycling resources through the Clark County website, bicycle shops, schools, employers, appropriate citizens groups, and other locations. You know what? I'm not even sure what that looks like, but maybe it's a simple web page at BPAC webpage that elucidates what it is we learn as we start to learn about the ecosystem. Where do people go to report problems? How can people educate themselves about bicycling and walking in Clark County? And I think that's the job of the outreach committee, to mull that over and decide what they'd like to do. The second item in Appendix H of the BPAC work plan is develop and implement a county-wide training program to educate engineers, planners, and public decision makers about the needs of bicyclists and pedestrians. Again, I'm not positive what that looks like. I would love to engage with the outreach committee. This could be a simple brochure, something that we give to county staff and other municipalities around in Clark County to remind them of the need to keep active transportation infrastructure in all planning and construction and maintenance. I don't exactly know what that looks like, but I think the outreach committee can work on it. As we discovered last year when we staffed a table at the Vancouver Farmers Market, we need a message. We need a clear message. And this would be the work of the outreach subcommittee. What is our message? What would be the purpose of our outreach efforts? If it takes 6 months to figure this out, I suspect we could come up with some effective messaging. So that's a lot to digest. Kelsey Hualt, who could not be here tonight, she is leading the outreach subcommittee, and she is willing to continue with that. I wonder if there's anyone else who is interested in joining the outreach subcommittee. You can think about it. We'll ask again. But there's a rough outline of the 2026 work plan. In a way, it will grow a little organically, which I'm okay with. But I think with the amount of work that we'll get from staff and us educating ourselves deeper into the onboarding materials, and then seizing opportunities to say update the bicycle and pedestrian master plan in a manner, I think that will be okay. Okay, I just got a note. It says time management. So we need to, what time is it? 7:40. We need to move on. The next item on our agenda is the annual report to the Clark County Council work session. And I have given a draft of an annual report. And as our 2026 work plan, I wanted to share it with the new group of people. So we have yet to really have that nailed down. But I feel pretty good about where we're headed with it. So the annual report still needs to be worked on. We have a draft. I think the draft could serve. I also am aware and appreciate that county staff is quite busy. And if we don't have time to make a, a visual, a graphically enhanced annual report, I think we can work on a verbal, or not verbal, but just a written annual report. Harrison and Suzanne, what do you guys think? We have a draft.
So I can go ahead and just provide an update. So we did go ahead and the work session for the annual report is scheduled for February 18th. So I did want to just note that for folks' calendar. If if you would like some additional time to compose thoughts or for kind of speaking points, we can always ask to reschedule that, because I know that's coming up pretty soon. But we can continue working with you to kind of refine the draft that you've provided already. But I did just want to put that out there. So February 18th is at 10 a.m. That is kind of the work session scheduled at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's coming up real quick. And do we want to make that presentation at that time? I'm okay doing it at that time. I know it's kind of seat of the pants this year, but I'm also okay with that. We have a whole new group. Who else would help to make the presentation? Judith did such a great job last year getting that prepared, practicing. And I don't see us having a ton of time to practice it this year. So what are we going to do?
So again, I would strongly encourage you to think about the messaging you want to give. And, this is your opportunity to communicate directly with council. I would not recommend seat of the pants. So if you don't feel like you're ready on the 18th, as Harrison said, it might be worthwhile to push it out a little bit into, I think now we'd be looking at March.
I would be happy to push it out to March.
Okay.
I
Then we
think-
will work on that, and we'll let you know when we have a new date available, what that would be.
Okay, well, we were going to chat tomorrow about the Thursday's meeting with Kathleen Otto. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about that tomorrow as well. Okay, that's great. Okay, so kicking the can, but we'll get there. I don't think we have all that far to go. I do wonder, what the annual report would look like graphically. Anyway. Next, does anyone have any thoughts or questions on that subject? The next order is new business, and we've got 15 minutes left. There's Highway 99 sidewalk project.
Yeah, so I will go ahead and just bring that up really quickly. So just as a follow-up for some of our newer members, we do periodically, or we've been kind of working to periodically bring some of our capital improvement projects at both 30 and 60% design for the committee to be able to provide feedback on kind of designs at those early stages. And so back in the December meeting, we did look at the 30% design for this project. I think it's moved pretty quickly. So they let us know that they're at 50% at the moment. So I think this would be kind of in lieu of a 60%. And because we are kind of nearing our time, I know these are very detailed or much more detailed construction plans than the concept that we saw back in December. And I think for the sake of time, I'm just going to go to the intersection that I think the committee provided the most comments on, which was Highway 99 and 117th. And so I do want the committee to know that we did kind of forward some of the concerns that were brought up during that meeting. Sorry, let me just manage my screen a little bit better. And I think from some of the meetings that I think I've been able to be a part of, and these plans, let's see here. Sorry, I should have had this little. Yeah, did look like they've made some adjustments to what we saw in December. And it does look like there is a continuous kind of 8-foot bike lane now. So I know at one point they were showing the plans where it was tapering down from 6 feet and a 2-foot buffer down to about 4 feet once it came closer to the intersection at 117th. So it looks like they will be looking at redesigning that curb return to fit the extra space in there. So, but that being said, this plan set is posted on the meeting webpage. So if you want to look at it on your own time, if you have any comments that you want to bring back to us, feel free to just shoot us an email, give us a call, and we can make sure to pass that along as well.
Because it is a large document.
Oh, sure.
This is located.
This specific intersection is located on page 8 of 13. Yeah, and are there any questions or follow-up comments?
Where do we find these drawings?
Oh, sure. So on the county's webpage, if you go to community planning, there in this left-hand section under community planning, there is a section for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Or you can just type in Clark County Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and that will also pop up. And then on this right-hand side of the screen, there's meeting information. And so it will provide a meeting grid with all of the materials that we provide in the meeting for online folks. And so these are all hyperlinks in here. So you should be able to find, I know it's hard to see on the screen. Let me see if I can.
Does that happen to also have the current status of the improvements made just north of 99th? I haven't heard any status report of that. I should have mentioned it earlier, but it's getting really crazy riding in that travel lane and going northbound.
With the current construction, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
The contractor hasn't made any provisions for pedestrians or bike.
Oh, okay. Thank you for letting us know that. Yeah, I can direct you to, there's a separate webpage with Public Works. They provide updates on current projects that are in construction. I'll direct you to that webpage for more information. Yeah. Okay. So I think we should be able to conclude that portion.
Is that all with Highway 99?
I believe so.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Seeing none, let's move on to comprehensive plan update and the two materials here.
Yeah, so I can go ahead and start with those as well. So again, I'll try to make this really quick so we don't go over our time. But I do want to apologize. We did send out some late materials this afternoon. So if you haven't had a chance to look at it, that's okay. I think we expected kind of later feedback. So we did just update the meeting page with two staff reports. Both are being provided as very rough drafts and kind of informational for the committee to kind of let you know the next steps in our kind of comprehensive plan process on the transportation side. So back in the December meeting, the committee provided a recommendation on the county's proposed multimodal level of service standards. And so those two reports are kind of outlining the next steps in the process and kind of how we're using that recommendation along with other recommendations that the committee has worked on in the fall as well. So I will just bring up each staff report and kind of really briefly go over, each one. And I think the intention for providing them today was we wanted the committee to kind of in your own time to kind of look it over, digest it, and our kind of to let you know that we will be coming back in a future meeting, hopefully February, to get a formal recommendation on the contents of the staff report. And we'll kind of work with the subcommittee between now and then to kind of further refine kind of some of the things that we've outlined as well. So let me stop talking for a moment and just pull this up for online folks. But so the first one I think I really wanted to highlight. So this kind of provides this staff report. It's just provides kind of that background of the recommendation from December, kind of what the committee has worked on, and then we've looked at proposing a new level of service standard for active transportation facilities in the county. And this is a new requirement by state law that we include it in our comprehensive plan. And so with the level of multimodal level of service standard that the committee kind of looked at and recommended for approval, this is kind of outlining all of the segments of roadways or corridors that would need that don't currently meet those minimum standards. And so it's a pretty long list. And one of the reasons why it is long is we did try to segment the corridors into kind of manageable segments for implementation. So we aimed for around like mile-long segments, and we tried not to do anything more than 1.5 miles as well. So that's why you can see them kind of broken up into various segments as well. So our next step from this point, we've identified where kind of the deficiencies are in our system. And I think the next step is to now identify what improvements need to be made on these corridors to bring them up to those minimum standards. So our hope is through kind of that feedback, we will identify what type of bicycle facility would be desired for each of these roads, and then maybe document as well how much linear feet of sidewalk maybe need to be constructed within each of these corridors. And we can also look at other improvements as well, but those are kind of our main two things we would like to answer. So the second report we provided a link to is kind of building off of that. And it is doing the work to identify what facilities we would recommend for each roadway. And this kind of goes into a little more detail, but we are kind of taking the network that was originally envisioned in the 2010 Bike and Ped Plan and basically applying the new standards and kind of the recommended facility typology that BPAC provided back in August to basically update the 2010 Bike and Ped network. So kind of providing more facility or providing for more variety in facilities types. So I know we talked about, having bike lanes, buffered bike lanes, protected bike lanes, shared roadways, shared use paths. So you can kind of see we're recharacterizing those roadways into that typology that BPAC has recommended. So, and then this, it does provide kind of a link to a draft map of kind of, we've done the work. This is what we think this would equate to on the ground. And this is looking at the county as a whole. And so this is providing us that blueprint to work off of, but within the, with the multimodal level of service standards and that first staff report I showed, I think, we'll be looking at updating the entire network, but for the comprehensive plan in our 20-year planning horizon, we would really just be focusing in on, this portion of the county with the comprehensive plan. So we'll use the opportunity to update the entire network, but for the comprehensive plan, we're taking a very targeted approach when it comes to implementation. So this is kind of what we would look at, or this is the visual representation of that huge project list staff report that I provided. So yeah, this is linked in here. Yeah, I don't want to run too much over our time, but I think our ask tonight was to get a kind of subcommittee to kind of take a deeper look into the contents of these staff reports, making sure that we're headed in the right direction based off of BPAC's previous recommendations, and refining it to come back at a later date for the entire group to provide a recommendation on.
So you're suggesting maybe that to point out glaring deficiencies and that type of thing? Or we'll get an opportunity to do that at another meeting, or that's what you would hope to maybe have a subcommittee look at? Because I looked at it this afternoon and one thing jumped out at me, but we can save that for another time.
Right. And even though we did ask for the creation of a subcommittee, if any member, even if they're not on the subcommittee, if you have comments, please provide them to us as well. Because we do want to make sure that we're carrying through your vision, that you've recommended forward. So this is kind of the next step that we see in that progression. But if we're headed in the wrong direction, please let us know as well. So.
Well, just very quickly then, the one thing I noticed was from WSDOT's new bridge going north, pretty much where the word Vancouver, I think, is in your map, there's a missing part of the link going right there to connect that blue line with that other purple line. You have to jog over and go through a neighborhood. There is a road that connects to that over on 63rd, but I was kind of surprised that that's such a large east-west thing without any north-south.
Yes. So I think we do know, and I think as David mentioned earlier, there are gaps in the plans network that we have that currently exist. And I think unfortunately, there was a recommendation to kind of I think earlier last year to update this to include a connection here. I think in the comprehensive plan, or for the comprehensive plan update, I think we want to work within the confines of the network that has already been adopted. And maybe we can kind of table those missing connections for future work, to kind of add in, yeah, like as you pointed out, there's a missing connection between 58th and 63rd, kind of moving up to Patton Parkway. Right. Yeah. And right.
It's just a matter of bicycles and stuff.
Well, you cut through a neighborhood. That's what it is. You just cut through that neighborhood. And at 63rd,
There's a lot of
stoplight.
There's a lot of cars on there. And so some bicycle facility, which is nice, even if it was just maybe paint.
Sharrows, yeah.
So, and to identify. But anyway, we're running out of time.
We certainly are. It's
Mhm.
8:02. We're 2 minutes over.
Oh, yeah. So I would just say, the purpose of the kind of this map and the subcommittee would be to help us identify which projects will be moving forward. Like, well, we know the project locations, but we're trying to determine the improvements now for those projects. And this map and kind of the subcommittee's help would help us identify those needed improvements. But we can follow up via email after this meeting with kind of next steps for both the subcommittees and for the rest of the committee. But yeah, as you mentioned, I think it's going to be a very quickly evolving process over the next couple of months with these items. So
Good. And does anyone have anything for the good of the order? If not, I will adjourn the meeting. It is 8:03.
Thank you.
I'll second that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.